to the Gambling Gauchos, part of the Stake in the Plains Content Network and the Dave Campbell's Republic of Football podcast feed. Just a couple of casino caballeros talking Texas Tech, betting on the Big 12 and beyond. Now, here's Kyle Jacobson and Rob Bro live from the Cardinal Sports Center studio.
Welcome into the Gambling Gauchos. I'm Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson. Looking great. That cowboy hat, man. Got me a new one today. No free ads. Potentially no free ads, but maybe an ad later. Flint boot and hat. Go get your hat. We're live from the Cardinal Sports Center studio as part of the Republic of Football podcast feed, part of Dave Campbell's. If you need to gear up for Texas Tech baseball, football next season, it's going to be here before you know it. If you need to get a large group of people t-shirts, if you want to get a t-shirt just for yourself that says Kyle Jacobson, you can at Cardinals, mycardinalsports.com. We're live and in person at Cardinal Sports Center, right inside the loop on Slide Road. Kyle, how you doing, man?
I'm good. You remind me of this girlfriend I had in college who, like, as soon as I walked into her apartment or whatever, she'd be like, "Did you notice my new haircut?" Like, you didn't even give me a shot to compliment you on the cowboy hat.
Well,
you just, announced that you had a new one before I could even say, "Hey, man, that's a nice looking hat."
Sorry, I do like 5 minutes of talking before you even get to talk each episode, so I'll give you an
said it, not me.
I got to get my spiel in, man. I got to get the spiel in. All right.
Sometimes when you're really going and you're already like halfway through the first topic or whatever, I just want to interrupt and be like, "And I'm Kyle Jacobson." Just completely derail it.
I always say Kyle Jacobson first. That's the first line. I'm Rob Bro. He's Kyle Jacobson.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Sounds like you're a little bit upset about it.
No, I'm not upset.
You need to talk about it?
No.
Does this remind you of your college girlfriend too? What are you thinking?
What am I thinking?
Anyways. What do you want to start with? There's an array of topics we have.
Hey, Big Hen, that's a hilarious comment, dude. That's almost like what I just said.
He said, "Love you, Kyle." He's trying to fight you in tonight's Caller of the Week.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. We'll get there, though. Do you have somewhere you want to start? Lots of things to talk about.
Whatever you think is best. I don't know what we're doing with like the hotline and the hugging stuff, or if you want to start with baseball, whatever you think is best.
Let's start with Texas Tech baseball. Won a series against Sam Houston this weekend, lost one, and didn't really ever feel in control of any of the games. Is Sam Houston just a team that's getting hot, or is Texas Tech kind of flailing right now? What do you think?
Both.
Yeah.
I think you're clearly not good enough to win 3 games in a row against a decent team, and that's what I would call Sam Houston. Now, they're no slouch. I know that's like a smaller name school, but especially like you alluded to in the run-up to that series, they've beaten some really good teams, and so they're not bad either. But, I mean, this is a well-known Baylor, Oklahoma, Iowa, like you name it. You're not consistently outplaying anybody 3 games in a row. It's just not the way it's been all season. So 2 out of 3 is not great. It's not terrible. It's about what we've more or less come to expect from this team.
Yeah, but at 12-10, 3-9 loss, and then 10-8. It's just not a great weekend of baseball. The bullpen didn't look great. The lineup, you scored 12 runs and 10 runs, so you can't really say the lineup was bad. You missed Kevin Bazell for a piece of it. It just – let me ask it this way. What was good this weekend?
Yeah. Man, I'm not trying to like make a point here by saying nothing. I mean, you scored 10 runs and 12 runs in a winning effort. But that's just how you have to win games. Like, you're not going to beat anybody 4-3, I'm afraid. So if you are going to win some games on the stretch here and maybe make the postseason, it's going to be 8-6, 10-8. That's just how it is. And so I think we kind of take the bats for granted sometimes. And so, look, you scored enough runs to win 2 games, but like I think the story of this season for me is just the total lack of improvement on some pretty glaring issues. Like, you have not had a pitcher really. I'm going to hedge this a little bit. I think Trendon Parrish has progressed overall throughout the season. It wasn't his best outing on Saturday. But besides him, you look around and, like, there's not really any pitcher that's trended up from mid-February till now. I mean, Beckel is still really good. Free is still really good. Are they better than they were at the beginning of the season? I don't know. The defensive issues that have plagued you, just the errors, the free bases. I don't even remember what it was, the free base tally over the weekend. But every time you walk a guy, it might as well be a double. And that's no way to live. Like, if you walk a guy and give him a free base, that's bad enough. When they're all extra base hits, when you plunk a guy, he hits a bloop single, it turns into a double or a triple because they steal those bases. I don't know how they are winning 2 out of 3 in series like this. And I don't know if that's a pitching issue. I don't know if it's the catcher's arm, if it's the defensive alignment, if it's just your strategy and, like, if you're emphasizing that or not. But half the time they don't even throw down. So I think that's still the most frustrating thing is, like, a guy reaches base on an error or we walk him and he's standing on third 2 pitches later without even a close play at the base at second or third. So that's frustrating. And, like, I don't know if you could execute a pitch out or work with your pitchers on pickoff attempts, but that's just it's brutal to watch that part of this team and their game.
Yeah, and it's not just Hudson White. It's all 3 catchers that have had trouble. Bazell had been the best of it, but he had limited opportunities to do it. He hasn't caught many games. You're at 19%, which means teams are stealing 81% of the time that they run down to second or third.
Again, like, there's not even a throw half the time, or if there is, there might as well not be. Like, those plays are so not even close. You might as well not risk throwing it into the outfield.
Yeah.
But if the other team knows that, like, again, that's no way to live. You can't just let them know that second base and third base are open every time. But that's pretty much how you're operating.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say I'm scared of West Virginia coming up this weekend, but West Virginia is a team that can do that and will do that. We will talk about this later in the week, but they might be without their ace, which bad for Big 12 baseball, bad for college baseball, great for Texas Tech.
Yeah, but I mean, they also probably still have the best player in the country.
Yeah.
And okay, even without their ace, I'm like, their ace isn't batting, right? And, like, they're still going to score.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what would you set their run total at for the weekend in 3 games? If I gave you, like, 23.5.
This is how simpatico we are. I almost just blurted out 24.
I don't know. Like, allowing them to average 8 runs per game sounds horrible, but, like, I don't know if I would take the under there.
You just took the over this weekend against Sam Houston State at home.
Yeah.
So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Tomorrow, ACU come to town. You have to win out to get the 40-game win streak, or not win streak, but win total. And that's kind of the magic number. If you have a magic number to be in the tournament for sure, the 40-game win mark. I think you can definitely get to 36. That's 4-4 of the last 8, but that does not get you in the tournament, in my opinion. And you're starting in a 6-run hole tomorrow against ACU in part of a, do we want to call it a doubleheader, a half a header and a half, whatever it is. You get a game and a half tomorrow, starting in the bottom of the 4th inning. They'll be the home team for game 1, and you'll start in a 6 run hole. And you just played on Sunday and used a bunch of pitchers.
Yeah, and you have to, with 2 midweek games, kind of have to think about saving some arms for the weekend. Like, you don't want to use up your Beckel, your Free, all that on Tuesday, Wednesday, and not have them available maybe Friday or Saturday or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's an uphill battle, which, like, I think we've started to sense that since you didn't complete either sweep in Norman or against Baylor. But yeah, you've got your work cut out for you. I think we covered this extensively last episode. We're glad that they're playing this game, even though they're starting down 6-0.
Yes.
But yeah, you're going to, I think, that's just my sense of things. I think the midweek is obviously less important than the weekend. But it feels like no matter what happens in the midweek, if you win 2 out of 3 in Morgantown, you've put yourself back on the right side of the bubble. You win 1 out of 3, I think you're still kind of like, it's pretty dicey. And if you get swept there, I think it's going to be really tough to do unless you win the whole thing in Arlington.
There's only one thing left to do. There is a strange bit in the RPI where just playing West Virginia helps. Just playing them. Shelley says West Virginia is 112 out of 126 on steal attempts. Yikes.
Yeah, that's not good.
Luke, maybe catch Bazell for the weekend and hope Coleman holds up at third. I don't think you'll catch all the runners stealing, but I do think that it's time to make a move there. You saw Coleman at third for the first time in his Red Raider career this weekend because of the suspension, and you'd already tried everything else. You might as well throw out, unless you're trying to play Tracer Lopez or Will Burns at third, just defensively. What do you think about this? Coleman at third, any infield of Lopez, Green, and Burns, first base Cash, catcher Bazell, DH Green if he's not hitting, or Hudson White, or Woodcocks.
I'd probably be okay with that. I wonder if Vuletic can play third. I mean, he's in the outfield. He doesn't seem to have a bad arm. He's played second base this season. I know playing the hot corner is a little bit different, and maybe he doesn't have the glove for that, but I think he has the arm to get it across the diamond. He's a guy, his bat, I mean, he certainly deserves to be in the lineup. And that's where the spots you just filled out, if he's not in the infield and he's not DHing, you're leaving one of him, Harrelson, or Carter out of the lineup. Well, I guess Hester also got a day off this week. So I don't know. Like, you kind of want all those guys and their bats in the lineup, but I think probably the defensive alignment is maybe more important at this juncture. And Bazell seems to certainly be the best defensive catcher you have. And I'm almost a little surprised that we haven't seen more of him at that position to this point. And it kind of makes me think that if they've come this far without him there, that they're just going to keep him at third.
Yeah. In my mind, I had Vuletic in right field. So Vuletic second base, Tracer Lopez shortstop, Coleman third, Green DHing, and then Burns back in the dugout.
Yeah, I think Burns is a great defensive infielder. And so, yeah I don't know.
And I'm still really excited about Travis Sanders, who's not played this year, Will Burns, and Jarrett Curtis. But those 3 guys, obviously one's an injury, but the other 2 just don't seem ready right now at the plate. Both could come in and probably be a defensive replacement above average in multiple spots in the infield and outfield. Maybe besides Carter, Jarrett Curtis is maybe your best defensive outfielder after that. Just has not been getting it done at the plate. Any other baseball thoughts?
No, I mean, it's really kind of more the same. You need to win some games to get into the postseason, and I'll save any like bigger picture takes, I guess, till the end of the year, and we know exactly how this ends and all that. A lot of people kind of want to get ahead of themselves on those discussions, but yeah, big time series, and this is the double-edged sword of it. You have to go play the best team in the conference at their house, and you could look at that and say, well, that's not good based on how things are trending, but it's also a huge opportunity. Like, you take 2 out of 3 there, and you're right back on track. So I've made this comparison before. Last year going into Stillwater, I think nobody was expecting a sweep. it was probably doubtful that you'd win the series. In fact, I think every single 5 or 6 D1 baseball writers that make picks every weekend all took Oklahoma State, and you did sweep them. And that was a team that hosted a regional, hosted a super, and you were not a bubble team, but a 3 seed. So I view that as a pretty good comp for this upcoming series. I'm not predicting a sweep, but you never know what can happen. And based on the result in Morgantown this weekend, it could totally change how you feel about this team going forward.
Yeah, you could either, hyperbole aside, you could either save your season or end your season this weekend.
Yeah.
And you could hold steady with 1 win and then especially depending on what you do against ACU, but you could hold steady with 1 win in Morgantown just because of the nature of the RPI. But you'd set yourself up to really need 3 against Kansas.
So let me give you this hypothetical. Let's assume you lose the game that you start 6-0. You win the other midweek, and I guarantee you 1 in Morgantown, but no more. Do you take that, or do you roll the dice on this entire week?
Rolling the dice. Yeah. 2 wins versus potentially 3 or 4. Yeah, I would roll the dice.
Okay.
Would you take it?
I'd roll the dice because I think if you take that result, you're probably not making the postseason, and so you might as well roll the dice. Like, there's no downside, I don't think. You might miss the postseason by even more by rolling the dice and getting swept in Morgantown. But, yeah, that's just optics. So I'd roll the dice.
Yeah. If I could give you a weekend of Regino barbecue, but you don't know what else is going on, or all of your wildest dreams coming true this weekend, would you roll the dice or take Regino barbecue?
I'd take the Regino probably. Yeah. So I'm usually more of a gambling man, but when life gives you Regino, you make lemonade. That's what they always say.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's such a sure thing. It's never bad. Hey, I went last week. Drove out to Olton. Had a week off. Unemployed. Had a week, not unemployed, but you know what I mean. I went out there, got the brisket burger. Took a buddy for the first time. Had the burn-ins. A couple of Texas Twinkies. Very good experience. Talked to Aaron. Nice as always. It's a family affair. It feels like it out there. The food is kind of a bonus in some respects. Go to ReginoBBQ.com or follow them on social. An incredible Instagram feed. Regino BBQ there as well.
Hey, I got a new sponsor idea. We need a phone company.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm having issues with my phone. Like, my invite to Regino, it never came through. So.
Are you in Lubbock?
No.
Because I didn't know that you were in Lubbock.
I wasn't.
I'll invite you next time. I invited you to Jason Isbell.
Yeah, you did, and I couldn't go.
Yeah. I don't even think you responded to that invitation, but that's all right.
Well, you did something that my old roommate used to do. He would just announce that he was doing something, and he perceived that to be an invite. So he'd be like, "Hey, I'm going to Chimmy's," and I'd be like, "Okay, cool. Like, have fun." He was like, "Oh, so you don't want to go?" I was like, "Well, you didn't invite me to go with you. You just told me what you were doing."
No, see, the first time I told you, we don't need to get into this, but I told you that I was going because I wasn't going to be able to record on Sunday, but I don't think you inferred that. And then later I said, I have an extra ticket. That was 2 different conversations.
That's just a statement of, like, if I tell you I'm eating dinner tomorrow night, that's not an invitation to my house. That's just me telling you that I'm going to eat dinner. So you having an extra ticket is just a description of your circumstance. That's not, hey, Kyle, would you like to use this extra ticket?
I'll be more specific next time. That's my bad.
But I live in a different city anyway, and I couldn't have come, even though I do love Jason Isbell.
No, that's on me. That's on me. That was a great show, by the way.
I bet it was.
All right. Moving on. A couple of things happened today. I really have not caught up on this college betting scandal, and I don't think there's much news out yet. But I do want your broad thoughts, Kyle. Now, hold on.
Thank you, Shelly.
Hold on, Shelly. Let's not just say dudes here. Preach, Kyle, how dudes do. Just make a statement. And so, got to ask the question. I'll be more specific next time. That's my bad. But you've compared me now to an ex-girlfriend, an old roommate, And now I'm the dude in the relationship here.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit I'm doing on this episode.
just comparing me to old friends you had.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we've reached this level. Anyways, I want your broad thoughts on the collegiate betting scandals that have been coming up. We briefly talked about the the Detroit Lions a couple of weeks ago. We've had Calvin Ridley, and now it's going into the baseball world. We had the Alabama baseball coach who called a guy on the phone while he was at the kiosk and said, "Hey, man, by the way, I'm going to bench my starting pitcher tonight against LSU. Bet the mortgage." Idiot. But now you have Iowa State athletes, Iowa baseball athletes, and more, which I wonder if they were betting on Texas Tech when they were down here. Certainly not on Sunday, but maybe the first day.
Yeah, my thought on this is actually, well, let me back up and give this kind of from like a 30,000 perspective. When we started a sports podcast kind of centered around sports betting, we don't sell picks, we don't tell you who to bet on, but we just talk about spreads and prop bets, things like that. I knew that there would be a certain segment of people that would just never tune in because either they're like morally opposed to sports betting or they go, "Oh, I don't do that. I don't understand it. So I'm not going to know what these guys are talking about," which we don't talk about anything from a sports betting angle that's over anyone's head, I don't think. But the perception or maybe misperception that sports betting can corrupt the game to the point where coaches, players are compromising fair play and compromising the outcome of a game, I think is a concern of people who fit that description. And it's totally valid because when you're watching, that's part of the beauty of live sports. You don't know what's going to happen. It's spontaneous. It's better than anything you can script. And so when that is compromised, it certainly devalues sports for all of us, for the viewers, your opponent, your teammates, whatever. But I think instances like this actually show how much the bookmakers, the odds makers, have advanced in catching suspicious activity. And so the example you gave, the guy's just being an idiot and like calling somebody while he's at the window. But even other things like just mobile betting, if they recognize some strange pattern and they've got AI and algorithms and all this, they can put a stop to it pretty quick. And so like the fact that you're hearing about these, I would call them more minor infractions like Calvin Ridley or people betting on a game that they're not even playing in, even though they're not supposed to. To me, the fact that those minor cases are being caught means we're so far from like a player for the St. Louis Cardinals being able to throw a game without anybody realizing it. I think it actually shows that the checks that are in place are working and that the game, whether it's college, pro, football, baseball, basketball, is actually able to maintain a very high level of integrity. I would be more concerned if we were like never hearing about this and a decade later, some NBA all-star, whoever was like, "Oh yeah, like we used to shave points all the time," but it's almost impossible to do nowadays, I think, with all the mechanisms they have in place. So anyway, to put a bow on that, I think a certain type of sports watcher who probably doesn't listen to this podcast because they're turned off by the whole sports betting angle sees this and they go, "Yeah, like that's what happens when you legalize it. Everybody's going to do it and people are going to find ways to cheat the system." I view it the total opposite way. I think that when players for the Iowa Hawkeyes baseball team are getting caught betting on like really low limit games that don't have a lot of action, it actually shows how impossible it would be to fix something like the Super Bowl, the World Series, or anything really like higher scale than college baseball.
Or I muted myself in two places there. Or the small level ones. I mean, if they're catching them on the small level, then the small level's safe as well. This comment from Ryan Hyatt says, "Fact, legalized betting creates a much more legitimate product in all sports. The system is working. These players and coaches are idiots and being proven so." Yeah, I agree 100%.
And So like I can't remember the player's name. I think this was in like 1994. So, certainly a while ago, a generation and a half ago, but not like forever ago. We're not talking the Black Sox scandal. Arizona State basketball player was shaving points, and the first red flag on it was all these Arizona State students were driving to Las Vegas wearing Arizona State gear. And finally, one of the books was like, hey, why is there a line of 50 Arizona State students all making the same bet on the game tonight? Like, to me, that's such an antiquated way to raise a red flag. And I know now they can just be like, I don't know, they can track bets within a 30-minute window or and be like, hey, these don't align with all the other bets we've taken this week, and something suspicious is going on. And so I think it's come a long way.
Well, and again, when you talk about sports gambling, you talk about, let's say, marijuana, weed, this isn't like Jimbo on the corner taking books in a spiral. I mean, we're not cracking legs. We're not breaking knuckles. We're not smashing thumbs. It's not the sports betting you grew up with in movies. This is a legitimate business.
And that's why it should be legalized.
Yes.
Like, it's a lot harder, or it's a lot easier to detect when MGM or Caesar's Palace or whoever, has computers and they've got people looking at all this. It's a lot harder to track when it's like the mob taking bets on a Boston street corner.
Yeah. You're not walking into some diner and being like, hey, it's Vito here.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of the scandals that people think of, like they happened in the 80s or whatever. And even those,
yeah,
like the
NBA ref, Donaghy.
Like the Boston College basketball one, it lasted like 12 games.
Yeah.
And then somebody called them, they're like, hey, they haven't covered in a month and a half. Yeah. So like even that, it didn't go on for like years and years. So anyway, I think a lot of people, just to reiterate, see these news stories and they go, oh God, the game is compromised. This is why you shouldn't legalize sports betting. I think it's the opposite. I think that instances like this would not have been caught so easily had it not been as widespread legally in this country. And I think it shows that the system is working.
And you're also looking at guys like Calvin Ridley, who we mentioned, the Lions players, and these college players who are probably going to lose a scholarship. They're getting punished. Calvin Ridley lost 1.5 years of his career because he bet on a couple games. And I guess he was already out, or he set out 2020, whatever it was. But I mean, he is losing money, losing careers, losing contracts, losing opportunities. So that's an aspect of it in and of itself, that there are things in place and there are consequences, and they're being monitored and caught. Kyle, if you were caught up in a betting scandal, who would you call?
Well, it wouldn't be because we were winning too much money. It'd probably be people suing me because they lost a ton on my picks. But I would call Barnett, Howard, and Williams. Maybe they handle catastrophic financial injury. They also handle just good old-fashioned catastrophic injury. Criminal defense, family law, certified for Title IX student litigation, bhwlawfirm.com for all your betting scandal defense needs. They hope you're never in that situation. But if you do, it's good to have somebody solid in your corner. And that's who Barnett, Howard, and Williams is, bhwlawfirm.com.
That would be a catastrophic injury. If you gave me a bet and I put a bunch of money on it and lost.
Back in the day, though, the mob would just give you a catastrophic injury. Some loan shark, if you were trying to fix something and it didn't work.
Oh, Rocky Balboa would come break your thumbs.
Paul Crew.
Well, Paul Crew would get his thumb broken. I don't know.
The old point shaving scandal.
Go to prison. Months later, you'd wake up and your buddy caretaker would have an exploded light bulb in his cell. It'd be tough. I went too far. All right, let's move on. Bob Huggins. We're going to approach this a little differently. I don't really want to get into what he said or anything like that. We certainly will keep you abreast of the situation. But I really just want to know, yes or no, will he be fired? Of course, we'll talk about it. But a couple of texts here from the Big 12 hotline. He's done for. Another one says, the New York Red Bulls recently had a Belgian player suspended 6 games for saying a racial slur during a game. I'd imagine it's easier to survive being Huggins in West Virginia than a player on a horrible team in New York. I would say the opposite. I think it'd be harder for a college coach to survive than some guy nobody knows out in New York somewhere on like the 17th most popular sports franchise there. Couple of more comments on it from the text line. Don't make me cry, Gauchos. I think that's a West Virginia fan. Tech fan says, this is my issue. He went on the radio. It wasn't a private conversation someone recorded. I think it was inappropriate. If he didn't have a killer offseason, then no. Does that matter? 20 years ago, he survives. Today, I highly doubt it. So there's some thoughts. If you want to get on the Big 12 hotline, follow us on Twitter. We will occasionally put out some tweets, some comments, some questions, and you can text us at the Big 12 hotline or give us a voicemail at 806-553-6171, or again, follow us on Twitter at Gambling Gauchos. Kyle, do you want to take us through a little bit what happened and your initial thoughts to hearing it this afternoon?
Yeah. So Bob Huggins was previously employed by the University of Cincinnati. I guess this would have been 20 plus years ago. So they're now in the Big 12. They have a little bit of a rivalry with West Virginia, but as far as basketball rivalries go, Cincinnati versus Xavier crosstown rivalry is like about as heated of a basketball rivalry as it gets in college basketball. So Huggins, apparently, from what I have read, is doing an interview with a duo of sports radio hosts in Cincinnati, and they're kind of like yucking it up about the good old days when he's at Cincinnati and talking about that rivalry. And I guess I'm not going to repeat like what he was talking about the student section at Xavier doing and what he called them. I think it's pretty well known. Probably, I mean, you can find it on Twitter pretty easily. The weird part for me, Rob, like, so first off, there's no debate as to like whether or not what he said was okay or not. I think we all agree it was not. The discussion now is turned to like what's the appropriate punishment and what will his punishment be. But I think we've all like let something slip that we didn't want to say, whether it was a bad word or like just like, oh, I didn't realize that person was standing behind me, whatever. But to say it twice in like 10 seconds while laughing about it, and then the radio co-host, which I know we're not really talking about them, they're like, oh, isn't Bob Huggins just the best? Do what?
There was a little bit of a ha when he said it the first time, and then they just moved on. They rolled on.
Yeah, and they're like, isn't Bob Huggins just the best? And so it's kind of was like, okay, does nobody in the room here realize that like you shouldn't be saying that, especially like broadcast publicly on the radio? And so like I'm not pleading ignorance in his defense, but like I don't know if I should even use this example. I will just because I'm quoting somebody else. Who was the New York sports radio host? Deadspin used to make fun of him all the time. It's like Mike something.
Francesa.
That's him.
Yeah.
So he was referring to an Asian person as Oriental, which is a term that is, I think, like at best outdated.
Yeah.
And like during a commercial break, I guess his phone line was blowing up and he said like, hey, I didn't realize that word was outdated. Now the word that Huggins used, I don't think was ever like, currently in use and like it's just outdated now. I think it's much worse than that.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, maybe he didn't realize how bad it was. And that's why he felt so comfortable saying it twice. Again, I'm not defending him. I'm not saying that that's like his way out of this or that he should justify it that way. But just like how casually it was used twice and the fact that the people on the phone with him were just like all laughing it up was like, okay, do they not realize how this is going to be perceived? Like clearly not.
No, it was very obvious, painfully obvious that is a word still in rotation, still in the lexicon. of all three of those gentlemen.
Yeah, and I guess something I would compare it to in recent sports history, Kyle Larson is a NASCAR driver. At the time this happened, he is like viewed as one of the best drivers in the sport. On a live stream of a video game, he drops the N-word in what he thought was like a playful manner. Not that there's ever an appropriate time to say that word. He effectively gets suspended and loses his ride for basically an entire year. He comes back and wins the championship. So now, like NASCAR's championship driver, I guess that was the 2022 season, maybe 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Yeah, because that was during COVID. They were running that simulator.
Yeah, so that happens in March, which the NASCAR season goes from like February through November. So he misses like 90% of the season, loses all his sponsors, gets a new ride, wins the championship. So anyway, like I just think that's interesting optics-wise for NASCAR that like their reigning champion at the time is a guy who had just come back from that scandal. I think what he said is not to like power rank terms that are better or worse than I think that's like the word that you don't say. He effectively served a year-long suspension. Now, Huggins at age 60, whatever, is not going to serve a 1-year suspension. I think this is either, retirement, or if they suspend him 10 games or something, then he'll coach 1 more year. But I think that's kind of like the crux of the issue now is like, is he going to be fired or not for saying this? And the reason I bring up the NASCAR example is because like this driver was not so much a pariah that he was not able to come back. Like it took a long time and he served a long suspension for it, but he was welcomed back to the sport. And so I'm curious to see if West Virginia basketball's response, how closely that mirrors NASCAR's punishment of Kyle Larson, because I think they're mostly comparable situations.
I've got about 10 minutes of thoughts coming out on the Gambling Gaucho's YouTube channel tomorrow on the Rob Bro Show. But just quickly, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I don't think that he will be fired. Now, I'm not saying what I think I would do in this situation if I was the athletic director. I'm just saying what I think they will do. I think there will be a pretty good suspension, and whoever's going to coach next is going to coach. Now, what you said there is something I didn't think about earlier when I was recording the other show. He was close to retirement this year. He could take half a year off and then coach Big 12 play. And I don't think anybody would think twice about it. There would certainly be some outrage on social media for a week or two. There would be rubber, what's on signs or thrown in maybe a couple of times at West Virginia road games, but I don't think it would be a massive issue long term. Now, if you could pick 2 guys to give quotes about you, just as far as character references and guys out there that, like, if I got in trouble, Kyle, I would have you put out a statement on my behalf if you were willing to. But apparently Bob Huggins has gotten statements from Jeff Goodman. Did you say good luck?
Yeah.
I'll put a statement out for you, Kyle. Bob Huggins has gotten statements from Jeff Goodman and Doug Gottlieb. I mean, is that who you're wanting in your corner, fighting a guy who had a credit card scandal and people still make fun of? I mean, this is like, I know you had a run-in with Dan Dekich today. You hadn't messed with him before, but that guy is the worst.
I didn't know who he was until today.
Oh, that guy is the worst. But I mean, Jeff Goodman and Gottlieb's whole thing was like, oh man, this is sports. We say that all the time. It's like, no, we don't, Gottlieb. You might. I don't anymore. I never really said it.
I do think if they're, well, I guess I'll say this. Chris Beard, same as Kyle Larson, effectively lost 1 season of his career for choking somebody. And like, that's a serious, you can kill somebody doing that.
Yeah.
Bob Huggins has survived a DUI, which is, again, you can kill somebody doing that.
Yeah.
It happens all too frequently. So he's survived a lot in his career. And other coaches, institutions that are, I guess, desperate enough to win go, oh, you choked your girlfriend 6 months ago? That okay. So anyway, I say all that to say I don't think it's a slam dunk that he gets fired. And I don't really understand West Virginia's response today if they're not at least going to try to keep him, because their athletic director is like, well, the situation is under review. Like, what are you reviewing? We all heard the radio clip. Like, you can maybe think on it and reflect how you want to respond, but like there's no context that could come out that would save Bob Huggins from what he said. And so the fact that like they gave Bob Huggins the time and ability to put out a statement of apology, and that they're already working some of the most prominent national reporters with the widest reach in the industry to kind of stick up for him, tells me that they're trying to smooth this over as best they can and see if they can get away with an apology, a suspension, a sensitivity training, whatever his punishment is. I don't think they want to fire him. And so unless there's just some huge pressure to do it, I don't think he will be fired. And I don't see that huge public pressure mounting and being enough. So my prediction, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, my prediction is that he will not be fired.
Over under 9.5 games suspended.
I think just over. I think they'll basically suspend him for the non-con and he'll coach Big 12 play. And so the non-con is about 12, 13 games. So they might say you're suspended the entire non-con. They might say 10 games, but I think that's about right. I think that's what he'll get.
Shelley says, of course, record matters. Beard got a job within 90 days. The CYA job gets better the higher you achieve.
She's right. If they didn't have the best portal class in the country, and they weren't thinking that they're a legit top 10 or 15 team, it makes this a lot easier.
If he had mailed it in, because a lot of people thought he was mailing it in last offseason.
Yeah.
And this season. And I feel like he's been reinvigorated a little bit. So, yeah. Kyle, a closet NASCAR fan. Who knew? I think we all knew, Chuck. And it's not really a closet.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not closeted about my NASCAR fandom.
I'm going to slow poke you in real life there.
Come on now.
Nathan says, nice head bits. Maddie says, love the hats. Rob looks like the prospector from Toy Story 2 with the hat. I don't know about that.
Here comes the prospector.
Wasn't that Kelsey Grammer? The actor, the voice actor for the prospector.
No.
Do you know
I was thinking Andy Grammer.
Do you know who Kelsey Grammer?
Got to keep your head up.
Whoa.
I'd probably recognize Kelsey Grammer if I saw him.
Okay. Frasier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, we do have a new bit today. I mentioned the voice mailbox earlier in the show. The Big 12 hotline. We're going to start doing a Big 12 hotline call of the week if we get one. Now, this is Monday night. We usually do these on Sunday night. If there is a call worthy of the call of the week, we will play it on Sunday nights. This week, from our very own Grande Pollo, is the call of the week. The Big 12 hotline call of the week.
Yeah, what's up? This is Big Hen. This message is for Mr. Gaucho. Heard you were coming to town looking for a fight. Well, let me tell you something. There's 10 bad some bitches in this town, and 9 of them call me sir. So you just name the time and the Mexican restaurant parking lot, and I'll be there. And let me tell you one more thing. Chase, I'm calling you out. You, me, Oklahoma Drill, and the parking lot of Jones AT&T Stadium. You better be scared. You're talking to an honorable mention, all-state, 3A, academic, athlete, place at the table, winner by his first round. All right, see you guys.
I can't tell you how many times I've listened to that. Very enjoyable. Full show. That is from March 28th, I think. I just now checked the Big 12 hotline after a while. That goes all the way back to who would win an Oklahoma drill between the Picadors. I think a couple of us picked Chase. Maybe you picked Chase and I picked Big Hen due to his football photos. You picked Big Hen?
I picked Big Hen. Big Hen has high school photos of him wearing a neck roll.
Yeah. So one of us picked Big Hen. I don't remember who. I think it was me. But maybe we both picked Big Hen in the end. He is a beast. So there you go. That was the inaugural Big 12 hotline call of the week. I'm going to give the number one more time. 806-553-6171. 806-553-6171. If you want to call in, leave a voicemail about anything that happens this week. Maybe West Virginia and Texas Tech have a wild series. You want to call in about it. You want to call in because West Virginia still 17 bases over the weekend. You can. 806-553-6171. I'll memorize that number eventually. Do you have anything else before we get to the Diversified Lenders mailbag, Kyle?
Are we talking gas or not?
Oh, yeah. I did want to mention Coach McCasland. So allegedly 2 more recruits on visits this weekend. And he was spotted at Evie Mae's, no free ads, and a couple of other restaurants and on campus this weekend. It's nice to have some proof of life, isn't it, Kyle? Just a little proof of life from Coach Gas, because we really hadn't seen him lately. Yes?
Yeah. Was that a question?
Yeah, I did ask you a question there. It's nice to have some proof of life from Coach Gas because we haven't seen him there. Yes?
Oh, the question was yes, question mark.
The whole statement.
I thought you were just in the middle of like a paragraph, so I was going to let you keep going.
Oh, no. I was, that's my thought. My thought it was that it was nice. I guess the more specific question, I need to be more specific. Do you agree with those sentiments, Kyle, that I just laid out eloquently?
Yes, affirmative.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to the situation with the recruits and the Joey Maguire-like availability in the public this weekend?
I think our basketball fan base on Twitter is absolutely crazy.
Well, there is that.
I think they worked themselves into a frenzy over nothing. And now they're like, okay, it's okay, guys. He's getting lunch at Evie Mae's. We're good. Everything's fine. Like, no, you were just psycho to begin with. Like, look, if we get too far down the road here and he doesn't have a staff and we don't have 11 or 12 scholarship guys, then I'll be like, okay. But our Twitter fan base, specifically with the sport of basketball, is crazy. And I love them, but they're crazy.
Crazy is a good word for it. And I intense, maybe?
And that's a good thing. Like, fan is short for fanatic. We don't want to be the country club crowd, like golf clapping at a football game. But also, like, we can cool it with the tweets sometimes and trust that a guy who's won literally everywhere he's ever been in his career maybe has it under control.
Now I'm wondering, is Shelly an English teacher or something? Closed questions, yes or no? I feel like I opened that up.
Rob, you literally said something to the effect of, like, it's good to see Coach McCasland out and about.
Yes?
No, there was no yes the first time. And so I thought you were mid-sentence, mid-thought. And then you go, yes, Kyle? And I was like, okay, are you asking me a question?
We'll check the replay.
Go to the tape. I've got an eyewitness here. I've got Shelly on my side.
We also had a commitment not to Texas Tech, but to Cal. It kind of snuck by us that first time. English major. So there you go. It's close.
I love that. I wasn't an English major, far from it. But I did dabble in Norse mythology. And one of my favorite myths was Loki talking about how precise he is with his wording because he's so crafty. And that rubbed off on me. So I try to be very precise with my wording, and I think others should be too.
Well, I took creative writing, and there's no preciseness there.
Look at you.
2 semesters of it.
It'd be precision, not preciseness. If we're gonna go the English major, I'm giving a ruling before Shelly has a chance to comment. I'm trying to save you a comment there, Rob. That's all I'm doing.
Well, we're behind, so Luke says he thought Kyle was a Spanish major, so there's going to be a delay. She might correct me before you do.
I was a double major, or doble, as they say in Espanol.
What were your college majors? Getting to know the Gauchos.
This is
enough.
Dead serious. I was a political science major, and in the College of Arts and Sciences, you have to have a minor, which is 18 hours. And I had no clue. I didn't have any other interest. I was like, I don't know what to minor in. And I get an email that says you can minor in personal financial planning all online. And I said, great. I'll be a personal finance minor just so I don't have to go to class. And so my minor was personal finance. Then I got a master's degree in public administration with a specialty in public management.
It's very nice. You're well educated. You seem it.
Allegedly.
Kyle Loki Jacobson. Shelly's friends call her Your Honor.
I'm going to start calling Shelly that.
Yeah, me too. May I approach the bench?
We could weave this into some Barnett, Howard, and Williams ad reads.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll just have her on to do the ad read in full regalia. So he really is a vice president. Yes, he is, legally. It's on his business card. Actually, I don't know what's on your business card anymore. That was our first bit. Jobs that Kyle didn't have that I said he did.
I feel like it's not a bit because nobody still knows what I do for a living. So it might have started that way, but
yeah. Anyways, Jalen Tyson to Cal. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to expand on as we discuss this discussion point?
Nope.
See you later. Arrivederci.
You want to know how many players on Cal, Colorado, Washington State, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Wisconsin's roster I could name from last season?
A couple, but
not a damn one. And that's all he is now. So see ya. Like, it's not sour grapes, but somebody like, oh, I'm going to follow you. And like, I just don't care anymore. Like, my degree is from Texas Tech. I don't really follow individuals outside of that, other than like some Big 12 injuries, because I want to see what our opponents are up to and everything. It's like, I'm not going to watch Cal basketball, and I'm not rooting against you. I'm not rooting for you. Like, just go out there and be like every other person on Cal's roster that I don't even know who they are.
Can you name anybody else on the Cal roster?
No.
You can name one.
Oh, is that where Fardos went?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good luck, guys.
Via con Dios, as Kyle would say.
I mean, is that the wrong?
No, I agree. That's what I was going to say if you didn't say it.
I would only care if you went.
Yeah.
If you went in conference and he was going to be on your schedule, then I'd be like, okay, now there's some anti-juices there. But if you go to like a school, I've literally never watched a Cal basketball game in my life, and I'm not going to now. You're gone. And like a different guy's going to be in your chair this season wearing the scarlet and black. And so I'm going to be focused on that guy.
I do have one wish. Put Cal on the schedule.
Yeah. I'm for any Power 6 opponent you can get at this point. So
yeah, put him on the schedule.
Do it.
Who famously said, put him on the schedule in their opening press conference at Texas Tech?
Cliff Kingsbury said, schedule Cincinnati.
That's what I was going for. Sorry, preciseness.
Hey, he was a little bit prophetic there. The prodigal son himself.
He was.
He said, 10 years from now, schedule Cincinnati.
Are they on the schedule? They're not on the schedule this year, are they?
No, I guess not. They're one of the.
But they will be. They will.
Yeah. He was on to something.
Yeah, they'll be in basketball for sure. Actually, not for sure, but when are we going to get when are we going to get a basketball schedule? I guess November, but
I don't know. I do want to save this for like June or July. I want to talk like ideal football and basketball schedule and all that other off-season fodder. But we don't have to do it right now.
Off-season stuff for the off-season. Start bench cut. Oh, this is the mailbag, Diversified Lenders mailbag. If you need to turn your accounts receivable into cash, call Diversified Lenders. Double Red Raider owned. Love those guys. Start bench cut these 90s sitcoms, Family Matters, Full House, Home Improvement.
Start Family Matters, bench Full House, cut Home Improvement.
I would start Home Improvement and bench Family Matters. You didn't like Tim Allen?
Never got into that one.
Big fan. I actually liked all three of those, though. Start bench cut Hester's shades, Joey's vest, and Gerlich's red boots.
Start the boots, bench the shades, cut the vest.
Agree. Do they call it a vest or is it a smock? I know Rule had the smock.
I guess Joey's worn both. It's fine. It's just not a flash piece. It's not a signature piece like the red boots or the shades.
Start bench cut, the shades, the boots, and the hat with the tape on it.
I like the hat with the tape on it. I'll move that up.
Yeah. Will Neil Brown make it to the end of the season this year?
Yeah.
I'll go no. I'll be the guy.
You hate Neil Brown.
I do hate Neil Brown.
Ease up on Neil Brown, man. We trust the climb on this podcast.
Speaking, do we? We?
Yeah.
Hold on. We?
Hey, he hired Graham Harrell. He developed Seth Daigie's brother, who wanted to come to Texas Tech.
Did he? I never heard that.
One of the greatest quarterbacks in Mountaineers history, according to our friend Irrational.
Do you know his name?
Seth Daigie's brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jarrett Daigie.
Okay. You just said his brother. I didn't know if you were just.
Hey, you talk about a guy. Here's a guy who took advantage of the transfer portal. We go Bowling Green to West Virginia to Troy. Western Kentucky?
In between. Western Kentucky to Troy.
Yeah.
He finished at Troy.
4 schools. Which I guess JT Daniels, his replacement, also.
Yeah.
SoCal, Georgia, West Virginia, Rice.
Mr. Root just got here. He wants us to start over. Speaking of NASCAR, Neil, would you rather ride in a NASCAR F1 car or top fuel dragster for one lap?
NASCAR.
Would you rather drive or get behind the wheel or ride along?
Ride along.
I would too, because they do it at a high level. I'm not going 200.
No, people joke about NASCAR. You just like turn left, but those machines are hard to operate at. Yeah. It's like I wouldn't want to drive because I wouldn't know how. I'd rather get the full experience by riding along at 185 miles an hour than failing to drive it at 120 or whatever.
Yeah. Even if they just gave you I don't know, a Mustang and said you could take a lap. I'd rather be in a legit NASCAR and go 200. Because I would go 60 maybe and slow down on the turns.
I can't remember if they actually did this, but somebody was proposing during COVID to get people to take the shot in Alabama that they hosted at Talladega. And if you get the shot, you get to drive one lap, which that racetrack it's the longest. Well, I guess there's some road courses that are longer, but it's 2 2/3 miles around, and the banking is something insane, 29 degrees. And so that would be a lot of fun to take a lap there. That's the fastest track on the entire NASCAR circuit.
Luke Landon says he would do the top fuel dragster. He would hurt his neck and sue by using BHW law firm.
See, he's playing 4D chess there.
Are you tired of talking about the baseball team, Texas Tech baseball team?
No, I like baseball season. I like the volume of games that they play and enjoy watching them. I do get frustrated watching this team, and there's not a whole lot new to say over the last, 4 or 5 weeks. So, yeah, maybe people are tired of hearing about them, but I don't get too tired of talking about them once a week.
I say this with sincere earnestness. I will never get tired of talking about Texas Tech baseball. I don't care if they're 0 for 35. Baseball is a talking sport. I will watch the games. I will talk about them. I will not tire of it. What is your favorite medieval siege weapon, and why is it the trebuchet?
Pass.
Did you ever build a trebuchet for physics or anything? A mini one? We built full-size trebuchets and shot pumpkins on the football field. It was awesome. And I think it was for Latin class. It's that private school education for you.
Oh.
Nothing to do with Latin.
Humble brag there.
I don't know what it was.
I went to public school growing up.
I had 35 kids in my class. We could do stuff like that. What'd you graduate with?
Could you be more precise?
How many kids did you graduate with?
500 something.
A little bit smaller. How would you say 500 something in Spanish?
Cinco ciento.
That's 500
Yeah.
something.
So you say más o menos cinco ciento.
The next question is, Rob, can you turn on Kyle's Spanish settings like in Toy Story 3? Yes, I can. Just ask him a question. Short of hockey goalies, what position in sports most impresses you as far as reaction time? Why are all these questions leading today? See, now that I'm not doing it, it's frustrating to me. But when I do it, it's how I ask questions. Baseball players. 110 from 60 feet away is insane.
I think
105 maybe.
like Olympic sprinters.
Yeah. At the gun.
Mm-hmm.
What?
The third most recent comment now from DMH.
Oh, he's focused on Wyoming. Yes, we are. Start, bench, cut, your preferred basketball announcement, a coaching hire, a player commitment, or a Power 5 home and home series.
That's a good one. It kind of depends what coach.
Or what player.
Like if it's Ben McCollum,
yeah.
give me that over like any player that's in the portal right now.
Yeah.
If it's some assistant from North Texas I've never heard of, then like give me a former 4-star recruit looking for a new home.
Your mind palace.
I guess I'll go coach, player, home and home. I want the home and home, but like I'm also used to not having it. And so I could build up to that next year if needed.
I want to know the Big 12 schedule before I rule on a Power 5 home and home. That could be one for me. I would go, I think just all being even. Big time coach, big time player, big time home and home. You know what I mean? What?
Sounded like you were about to say big time players.
Big
time plays.
In big time moments.
Yeah.
I would go. Oh man, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think I would go Power 5 home and home though. That's just something we've needed so badly for the last 2 or 3 years.
What's your favorite like locker room speech?
Ooh. The one from Rocky that he's listening to on the record. We got to get him on the run. We got to keep him on the run. We got to go, 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 go. That's a pretty good one.
What about like in real life?
You know, off the top of my head, everything runs through Lubbock. One that's recent to me. Augie Garrido.
Oh, that's a good one.
The God Squad after the Baylor win.
When I tell you to take, you take.
Yeah, that's Augie Garrido, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Big Hen says the inch from Any Given Sunday. 1 inch.
Is that your Pacino?
Football is a game. Yeah. Hoo-ah.
Huh? Funny.
1 inch.
Dude, I used to listen to that all the time. That was on my like JV football pump up playlist.
Like set the music.
How does that speech go?
Yeah, a game of football is 1 inch. It's like a yard, an inch, 6'10", not bad.
It's the 6 inches in front of your face.
Yeah, I need to listen to that again.
There's something about like climbing into the light.
Yeah.
I need to watch that speech. There was one of Ed Reed at Miami. They were like losing at halftime. This is when they had just like their team was loaded. Every single player was going to the NFL. And I guess they were losing to somebody at halftime. And he was hurt. He had like a hurt shoulder or something, but he was still playing. Sorry, I'm reading the comments, getting distracted here.
Sorry.
So they're like about to go back out on the field. I don't know how I guess my friend used to like show me this clip. He thought it was so cool. And Ed Reed's like yelling at everybody. He's like, I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. Joaquin said dominate, and we not doing it. I'm putting my heart in this. Bleep. Let's go, man. And then they like went out and won the game.
What's your favorite rap song written by a former Miami Hurricane?
What's your name? G-Reg. I won't sing the rest.
Oh, man.
Looking back, like with the benefit of hindsight, isn't Greg Olson like the last guy you would picture
Oh, yeah.
being caught up in a scandal like that?
Yeah,
He's like NFL Man of the Year, like the most clean cut. You're like, wait, you did what at Miami?
He's like the broadcast guy now.
Yeah.
Pacino off. We'll have to have it. We just can't have a walking off. Can't have a walking off.
I don't do a good Pacino, but I do a decent Kevin Spacey doing Al Pacino.
Well, now you got to do that.
He does a good Pacino. It's funny.
Speaking of scandals.
Huh.
If you could get one guy back, speaking of like a Bob Huggins scandal, if you could get a coach or an actor back from a scandal, who would you want back? Because I think Kevin Spacey would be mine. I love that guy.
Who would I uncancel?
I mean, I understand why he's canceled, why he's disavowed. But if you could bring one back, either a coach or an actor.
This whole thing reminds me of like George Costanza being like, was that wrong? Should I have not said that? I'm trying to remember who all got canceled or fired or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Kevin Spacey would be a good one because I did like him. I think honestly Mike Vick did a lot of good rehab himself. Like he worked his way back from that. Like I mean, he literally served his time and then had to rehab his public image. But he's been like totally clean ever since then. But he was a player I really liked growing up, and wish he hadn't been caught up in that for sure. But like I said, he kind of did a good job of rehabbing his own image after that.
Can y'all workshop Rob Roshow closings tonight? Yeah, that was a pretty of a rough one today. Big hint says Bill Cosby.
What happened at the closing?
Oh, I just kind of stumbled. I didn't know what to say, how to say it on the closing of the Rob Rowe show today. So on the radio, I always said, I've been Rob Rowe, I'll be Rob Rowe, we'll see you then. But that's like saying it to a microphone with nobody here and then getting like immediate comments after you say it. It feels different. Maybe I'll stay with that. I don't know. Would you say Cal is a step down from Texas Tech in terms of basketball? No, I wouldn't.
Why not?
Big 12. The Womble. Two of them right there.
So you're saying it is a step down?
Yes, Cal is a big step down.
Oh, okay.
I read that backwards. Texas Tech is a step up from Cal. Yes. That's what I was trying to say. Danny Masterson from That 70s Show. Big fan of the ranch, I guess.
Who's that and what did he do?
Danny Masterson?
Yeah, who's that?
I'm not going to say what he did, but he was Hyde from That 70s Show.
Like curly hair with the glasses?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could leave him behind.
Huh?
I could leave him behind. I don't care to have him back. How does Rob have a tattoo guy while not having any tattoos? My college roommate does tattoos now. One of my college roommates. This college roommate skateboarded in our apartment and put his head through the wall. Didn't tell anyone and just hung up a poster over it before he left. Love that guy. Now, the next two are trying to get us canceled. I'm going to read these two, but you don't have to answer unless you want to.
Okay.
If you were going to hypothetically say something on live radio to end your career, what would it be?
It definitely wouldn't be a slur. I would probably have like slipped up. Like if I got thrown off the Rob Bro or the tailgate show, when we did that, it would have been for like accidentally cussing, which I guess you're allowed to say some of the like minor cuss words.
Yeah, let's not. Well, we can say anything here.
You actually remember you got mad at me during the commercial break. Do you remember the story I'm about to tell?
I think I got mad.
Yeah, you were a little bit heated.
Yeah, was it when
You like ripped off your headset? You're like, hey, do you mind toning it down? Do you remember? Okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So there were 11 a.m. kickoffs, and the show was from 10 to noon, and we were watching Texas versus Tech in 2021, and the ref threw a flag that I disagreed with the call.
Yeah.
But I was away from the microphone and like said it under my breath and like knew that I wasn't going to be jeopardizing anything. And Rob, being the professional he is, just rolled right past it. But then when we went to break, he was like, hey, do you mind cooling it on the whatever?
Well, what'd you drop though?
I mean, it shouldn't have been said on radio, and it wasn't. That's why I was away from the mic.
I had headphones on, so
I said, that's a terrible call. You should be ashamed of yourself, Mr. Referee.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. So it'd be something like that. They'd be like, hey, like Hot Mike, you just disagreed with that call a little bit too passionately, so you can't be on the radio anymore.
Yeah, if I was to end my career on terrestrial radio, I would just go out guns blazing, which I kind of did, but I didn't go out. I would just, I would do the Mike Leach speech is what I would do. F you, F me, F everybody.
F Baylor.
F Baylor. F
Baylor's just like catching strays. He's chewing out his own team. He's like, oh, and F Baylor.
Yeah, that's what I would do. And then what's your favorite slur? Again, we don't have to. I don't have.
Who's asking these questions?
When I was rushing in college, they asked us what our favorite race was, or what is your least favorite race? And like the bit was, you're supposed to say like a mile relay or something.
Yeah, a marathon.
But people were just like, "Oh, these guys and these guys," and they were all like, "Whoa!"
It's like, dude, you're supposed to say the Iron Man.
Yeah, it's a 100-meter dash, man. That's my least favorite. But that was, back in 2008.
Not everybody is a runner like me. Like I do the 40-yard dash, so their mind goes somewhere else.
True. I got it right because I'm not racist. I commented we will not be canceled tonight, so I think we've done a good job on that. Canceled Couchos coming soon. That's a good one. Is there a dollar amount that would make you consider getting canceled?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's a dollar amount for everything in my mind.
If you said, hey, you never have to work again, your grandkids don't have to work again, I'd be like, yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
how you got that money? Yeah.
To a point. If somebody was like, hey, you have to go commit like a felony, like harm somebody, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. But
yeah, what type of canceling? But sure.
Yeah, but if they just said like, hey, you're a bad dude, you can't have a podcast anymore, but here's $100 million, I'd be like, okay, I don't have to do the podcast
anymore. First of all, we're not to the level of being canceled. I don't know the ripple in the wave we would have to be canceled, but
we're kind of self-employed in this venture, so I mean,
cancel ourselves.
Not that we want to like cause controversy here, but
which tight end will lead the team in red zone targets? Mooney said Baron Morton. Who do you think?
Jeez. Oh, that's hilarious. I'll go Cup.
You know what? Just to be different, I'll say Tharp. Did we just figure out that Cyclone Larry was actually a track athlete betting on sports, and that's why he disappeared? No, Larry does this every once in a while. He's a very successful student, I believe. And I think he goes 0 dark 30 like LeBron James in the playoffs on Twitter. Is my thought. A couple of comments here on the chat line. Let's see. Should we start panicking about Coach Mack? Is it possible he's just not ready for the Big 12, or is that an overreaction? Luke, again, on top of it, understanding the bit, says this isn't Overreaction Monday anymore. But I think we talked about that. No, again, in June, maybe. Are we talking about it in June if the roster's not complete? Did you see Coach Gerlich, and did you think that she was throwing shade at Coach Gas?
I didn't see that. What is that in reference to?
She tweeted a graphic of the transfer portal window being closed, going on hiatus or whatever. And she was like, when you hit the transfer portal closing and your team's all complete, like,
Spicy.
no, I don't think she was talking about Gas, but certainly throwing it at other colleges still looking in the transfer portal. And the Texas Tech roster is complete. Luke says somebody needs to offer Cyclone Larry whatever it takes to be willing to get canceled.
Is
He
Luke,
might not.
is Luke a picador?
I think so. If not, he's around on Twitter quite a bit.
These comments have been elite. He'd be in the running for picador of the week if he's in there.
If he's not, I recognize the name that I see it a lot. And so he's just an active Twitter user.
Definitely on Twitter, for sure.
I sure thought Krista was throwing shade. She's going on vacation, making herself known. I don't think she was throwing shade at Gas, but I do think she was throwing some shade at some other.
Well, I'm sure there's surely other rosters in flux, and Coach Gerlich probably wanted to flex that she gets a little summer vacation, and
that's a better word for it. Flexing, not shading. She's just promoting herself instead of putting somebody else down. Oh, Luke's a college student. He can't afford the picadors yet. Did you do a picador scholarship, Kyle, for Luke?
Yeah, we could probably do that. That's a good idea, actually, because we need the pulse of the Utes.
Yeah,
we need to know what the youth are saying. What's cool these days? Because I don't know.
Yeah, DM us, Luke.
You know, I wear khakis to work every day. What do I know? Yeah, we can do some Gaucho scholarships.
We'll figure it out.
All right, no, here, hey, new bit. If you got a 3.0 or higher at a Texas Tech University system campus, DM us, and a certain number of you can get into the Patreon for free. We'll unveil the first ever Gaucho scholarship. So spread the word. Luke, others, 3.0 at a Texas Tech University system campus, or LCU, or South Plains, or Wayland.
Somewhere local.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Good. I thought you didn't do bits, but I appreciate that. That's a good one.
That's not a bit. We're actually going to do that.
Starter says it was a red flag to me when Grant tweeted one time in 2 years. Yeah, he's got to be better at that. He's got to get better on Twitter. You just have to in today's world. Now, you if you're like Bill Snyder and established? No. Bill Snyder doesn't need to. But I think a young hip coach needs to be more. Or, hey, hire someone to tweet. You don't have to tweet. Somebody should be tweeting from your account, though.
I got two takes on that. The first is, never mind. I'm going to leave that alone because that's in the past. The second one.
Retweet if you're with us.
Wouldn't you rather it be sincere versus like, I'd rather have not at all than just some, we haven't tweeted in 6 weeks. Retweet if you're with us. But we're going to leave that in the past.
Yeah, but just look at Joey's feed. I mean, he's just really retweeting recruits, building relationships, that kind of stuff. You
and I know Joey is very online.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'll share with the picadors a fun kind of nugget there.
Yeah.
What was the other point I was going to have? Oh, yeah. They're not wrong that you need a social media presence, and I just got done preaching that Gerlich has created so much momentum for the program by having a social media presence. But it also kind of confirms what I said earlier about our basketball fan base being psycho in a good way. In a way, on Twitter.
Yeah.
That they feel like the deficiency with the program is that the coach isn't tweeting enough.
Yeah.
It's like that's like such a Twitter fan base concern to have. And again, fan, short for fanatic. I love us. Wouldn't change us. But also we're kind of crazy.
He has some clarifications here. It's more about keeping the fans engaged and them interacting with your program. You can do that from the program account as well. It doesn't have to be from the head coach. But I agree that he does need to be more active. Just in a world of today that should be done. He says, I consider myself a diehard fan, and I literally have no idea what Grant's program is doing. Now, I don't think we need his calendar on Twitter, but I do. I want to see more from Grant McCaslin. That's why I said it was nice that he was out and about this weekend.
It's
I have
May.
no idea where this pin came from. Just on this shirt. The more you know. Go listen to all the Picadors want a free ad now, a free comp if they got a 3.0.
Too bad.
Go listen to Seeing Scarlet. They interviewed Raider Red this week. You can listen to Dinger Derby. They will preview the upcoming series. You can listen to 23 Personnel. You can listen to this show. You can listen to the Rob Bro Show. All of it as part of the Staking the Plains content network. You can also read content on stakingtheplains.com. Kyle, any final thoughts?
Congrats on your first show.
Thank you.
You're first in that format, at least.
Yeah. We'll call
It's not like your first time doing a show, obviously.
Not my first rodeo.
Yeah, there you go. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
That's good.
That's my final thought.
Somebody else sent me a quote today. I'm going to go back and get it. Never feel guilty for starting again. It's from Rupi Kaur.
Depends on what you're starting again.
Well, I think it's
like if you quit something that was bad for you and you
like climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
Chase. Yeah, hey, if you we might have some trade there if you end up no, but Chase specifically.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the $5.
No. Well, we could give him a discount on some other.
If you're an adult with a job, you don't qualify for this scholarship. If you're a college student and you're a Ute with the pulse of the Utes, then you're eligible for the scholarship.
Luke, hey man, he's still trying to butter us up. Rob is peaking and will never stop peaking. That's true though. All right, I don't have any final thoughts. I do have, you know what? I do have a final thought. Rob Rowe Show tomorrow. Gambling Gauchos. YouTube.com/@GamblingGauchos. Follow us there. Hit that button. Like button. Hit that subscribe button. Comment. When you rewatch this tomorrow, comment. It helps the algorithm. If you ever see a video later on, comment. It helps the algorithm. You can just comment algorithm. Shelly says good night. Good night, Shelly. Thanks for joining us. That was awesome. We're also streaming live on Facebook. Follow us on Facebook. We're also streaming live potentially on Twitter. We'll see how that goes. But there are options. So just follow us. Just search @Gambling Gauchos on everything. Yes. Oh, you're
one more item.
Oh.
I'm going to announce that we have an announcement soon. Is that okay?
Yes.
I have to figure out when the announcement is, though. Hang on. Give me 1 second.
Do we have an announcement?
Yes. So I'm announcing right now that on Thursday, we will be making an announcement.
Do I know the announcement?
You know about this project. We're
Oh.
going to announce the project on Thursday. The project won't be till Friday, but we're announcing it Thursday, and so I'm announcing the announcement today.
Okay. We'll also have a conversation with Casey Cowan this week.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to listen to that conversation, subscribe to the Patreon @Gambling Gauchos, patreon.com/Gambling Gauchos. If you are subscribed to the Patreon, we will let you know when we go live on Wednesday with Mr. Cowan himself. We might record that one privately, but it could be on the Twitch stream. We'll figure that one out when we get there. Even though I just said it was on the Twitch stream. Do we know we have a Twitch?
Do we know who DMH is?
No.
He just commented algorithm. Like, you're a real one.
You got to do it on the other video, though. You can't do it in the live comments. I do really appreciate that, though. All right. Kyle, take us away, babe.
Love y'all.